Welcome back to the Rich Dad Real Estate Show, where we talk about the good news and bad news of real estate, hosted by yours truly, Jaren Sustar. So I am hosting a free training coming up on Thursday, October 17th, teaching you all about how to buy profitable real estate deals using other people's money. So we're opening up two different slots, 7 p.m. Eastern and 9 p.m. Eastern. Our platform can only hold so many people, so if you want to make sure you get a spot, go sign up today. We put a link in the show notes so that you can get registered ASAP. Today, we have an extremely tactical and educational episode. I'm going to talk about lead generation as it pertains to real estate, which simply means having prospective properties coming across our desk to potentially pursue to purchase, because if we don't have leads coming in, then we obviously aren't going to be able to buy any deals. And so I believe lead generation is arguably the most important piece of this huge puzzle called real estate investing that we've got to put together to have success. And so I want you to make sure that you walk away from this episode knowing what the different types of lead gen are and how to execute on them. Because if you do, you're going to put yourself in a position to do a lot of deals, which is obviously going to lead to more income, which will lead to more assets, which is ultimately going to lead to financial freedom. So when I look at the big three of real estate, it goes like this. We got to be able to find deals, we've got to be able to analyze deals, and we've got to be able to fund deals. We know we must have deals coming in. Then we must know how to assess those deals to know if they're a good deal or not. And then we got to come up with the money to buy them. Now, there are obviously a lot of little details and intricacies that go into executing each one of these of the big threes, but hopefully you get the picture. But at the end of the day, it all starts with finding great deals. My best friend, who convinced me to get into real estate, started his career as what we call a bird dog here in the southeastern United States, which is simply just a redneck way to say his job was to go find great real estate deals for other people. Now, I'm a huge baseball fan, and when you look at the major league, they have scouts that they call bird dogs. Any guesses on what their job is? Well, it's to go find the next Babe Ruth or Mickey Mantle. My personal entire career as an employee was spent in sales. The sole existence of my role was to go find new customers who would buy my company's products. Okay, listen, no organization, no small business, no corporation, no sports team, or a nonprofit can survive without leads. Leads are the heartbeat of any type of business, the same being true for real estate investing. The beautiful thing is, and sometimes overwhelming, is that there are so many ways that we could generate leads for our real estate business. There's not one right or wrong. There's not one that necessarily does better than the other. No matter what the guy running a Facebook ad on his special real estate lead generation formula says, you guys have all seen it. To be quite honest, a lot of the ways you're going to generate leads are going to be dependent upon a few things, such as what does your personal schedule look like? What does your life look like? What does your budget look like? What is your experience? Now, I want you to understand that all of the methods that I teach you today aren't intended to necessarily be used at the same time. Instead, the goal is for you to be equipped with the different methods so that you can implement them as you progress throughout your real estate journey. My friend Brandon Turner, he was a former host of the Bigger Pockets Real Estate Podcast, and he's just an incredible investor, teaches on what he calls the 1-1-1 rule, which simply means you should analyze one deal per day, make one offer per week, and that should lead to one closed deal per quarter. Or you may hear us here at Rich Dad talk about the 110-3-1 rule, which just means that you should analyze 100 properties, make an offer on 10 of those, have 3 accepted, and actually close on 1. Now, obviously, if we wanted to scale and do more deals than 1 per quarter, then we just increase the number of leads that we analyze and make offers on. But the illustration of these two different rules just reinforces the simple principle that focused input is going to dictate your output. Plain and simple. I want to share a personal story with you about input and output. I had the opportunity to play Division I baseball in college, but not by chance. I was never the most talented, and so if I was going to create the output needed to get offered a Division I scholarship like I eventually did, I had to be very intentional about my input. So that led to early morning workouts in high school, after hours batting and fielding practice, and a constant work of perfecting my craft. I continued this input all throughout high school and into my first 2 years of college, when the output of and the fruits of my labor really started to show. I was playing every day at third base. I was batting in the middle of the lineup. I was hitting over 300, which is really good if you don't know baseball. I finished that season as an all-conference third baseman, voted a team captain, and was in the running for Big South Player of the Year. Well, what do you think happened that offseason and leading into the next year? I got distracted by all the glory. And because of the distractions, my time, aka my input, started getting pulled in different directions. I no longer was working out multiple times per day. I wasn't spending the extra hours in the batting cages, no extra ground balls after practice. I lost focus. I didn't manage my time. And quite frankly, I got lazy. And so you want to guess what happened to my output the following season? It dropped significantly, and ultimately my team suffered from my lack of production. Listen, your personal success in real estate and your team's success, which is your family and those connected to you, depend on your input and your focus to the craft of finding great deals consistently. Can you keep leads coming your way? Are you analyzing those leads and making offers? If so, well, then you're probably going to buy a lot of deals. If not, you're going to wake up one day and say, gosh, poor old me. I just can't do real estate. Real estate isn't for me. Listen, I don't want you to be that person. The beautiful thing about real estate, guys, is you don't have to be a genius to do it. You just have to show up every day and put in the work. That's it. So let's jump into the tactical pieces of how we actually go find those leads. I like to break lead gen down into two buckets. Number one, organic, and number two, paid. Organic leads, the way I explain it, are leads that come in without spending any marketing dollars and often are brought to us by other people, though not always. Paid lead gen, then, are leads that come in through marketing. It's pretty much like any business out there. So my personal business coaches a lot of people every year on how to buy real estate. Some of the folks who find us do so organically through our social media or our free content. Other folks come to us through paid ads. Same is true in any industry. And so when I look at my story, where I started with real estate, and quite frankly, what I still do a lot of to this day is organic leads. I think for the everyday average person who's working a full-time job, like I was the entire time I was building my portfolio and has a busy life, but who wants to be able to create financial freedom through real estate, organic is hands down the best way to start. Why? Because it takes less of your time and money. Plus, I truly believe and can testify there are so many great deals that come from organic lead gen if we know where to look and we know what we are doing. Now, I mentioned that with organic leads, it's less sweat equity and cash out of our pocket, but because of that, there's going to be more competition. And I'll break that down for you. So when looking at organic leads, let's talk about where we go to find them. Number one, through partnering with investor-friendly agents. Number two, through partnering with wholesale companies who send us leads. Number three, we get on Zillow, see what's available in our target areas. Number four, driving for dollars. Number five, networking. Number six, social media, which is posting on your personal accounts and letting people know that you invest in real estate. Number seven, Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. I know it sounds crazy hearing those two, but these two sites are still a fantastic place, in my opinion, to generate real estate leads. I just closed on a fix and flip personally 2 weeks ago that we found through Facebook Marketplace. Then when we look at paid leads, there is going to be less competition, but it usually involves more sweat equity, and you are definitely going to have to spend money to make money. Now, there are many different avenues to doing paid leads, such as radio ads or social media ads, Google pay-per-click, billboards, etc. But today, I only want to focus on the two that we and other investors have found extremely effective. Number one is cold calling, and number two, which is direct mail campaigns. Okay, so we've laid the foundation of what organic leads and paid leads are. Now let's talk through how to use each of these methods effectively, starting with organic leads. Number one, agent partners. I absolutely love working with investor-friendly agents. Let's make that clear. Investor-friendly agent. There are many agents across the country and globe who have no idea about real estate investing or what investors are looking for. They don't understand what makes a good rental property or a flip or what areas lend themselves to investment properties. So we must get with investor-friendly agents. And the beautiful thing is they are in essentially every market across the United States. I know this because our team has built relationships with many of them so that our students don't have to go find them by themselves. And that is the key to success with these agents, to build a relationship with them. But before we build a relationship with them, we must find them. And so if you're not one of my students, then you're going to have to go do it on your own. And here's how. Number one, start with Google. Literally go type in investor-friendly real estate agent in the market that you're interested in. Number two, ask other investors who they work with. And number three, there are real estate websites that have compiled a list of agents across the country who will give you those agents' information in exchange for your contact information. Once we've compiled a list of 2 or 3 agents in our target market, set up a time to meet with them either in person, through Zoom, or on the phone, and have them teach you about their market. You want to know, what does the population growth look like? Are jobs moving to the area? Where are the B to C class neighborhoods that we should focus on as an investor? Number 4, what is the average sale price per square foot in these particular neighborhoods? What are the average rent prices in these areas? What areas do we need to stay away from? And then on the flip side, you're going to tell them what your budget is, what your strategy is, whether you're looking to buy rentals or do flips, or are you focused on single family or multifamily? How are you planning to fund your projects? And do you need additional contacts that they may have access to, such as a contractor or a closing attorney? Then from there, you can work to put a plan of attack together for them to start bringing you leads. And to be honest, it's a huge cheat code, because instead of you having to go and generate all these leads yourself, many of these investor-friendly agents already have them coming in. Whether they have their own mailer campaigns going, they have their own cold callers, they got eyes on the streets calling them when they see vacant properties. They have already inundated the market and, quite frankly, are just a fantastic starting point. They understand the game, they understand the area, and can be a key puzzle piece that will connect you to any missing link you have as you move through your real estate journey. Number 2 on the organic leads list is wholesalers. But a wholesaler's job is simply to lock up as many deals as possible at as low of a price as possible. And then once they have that property under contract, they are then going to go sell that contractor to an investor who will then close on the property and keep it as a rental or a flip. Which means most of the time, wholesalers aren't even buying the property. Now, the good wholesalers will send you properties only in your buy box. But to be honest, many of them are just going to send you everything they have anyways. But the great thing is, if you are on a number of wholesalers lists, you now have leads that you can look through every day to help you hit your 1-1-1 metrics. And although many of the deals that you will look at from a wholesaler aren't any good, there are plenty of gems that will get shared as well. The key is you have to be looking and analyzing regularly, which reminds me, pretty please, make sure you do your own diligence when a wholesaler, or anybody for that matter, sends you a property. Never trust anyone's numbers but your own. We'll be right back.
Are you worried about your financial security in these unprecedented times? If you are, the next minute could profoundly impact your financial security. Imagine waking up to find the economy has plunged and your portfolio has plummeted 40 to 45%, while banks are in turmoil, holding your money hostage while waiting for FDIC intervention. Where would you turn? For many, this may sound like fiction, but it's a stark reality for those that have money on the line. Recently, America's awoke to both the NASDAQ and the Dow, plummeting over 1,100 points each and triggering a frenzy of sell-offs. History shows us how a single event can crash the market, like the dot-com bubble of 1999, the subprime mortgage crisis of 2008, and the pandemic of 2020. But today, we're facing multiple bubbles: commercial real estate, stock, bonds, and banks. Combined with the relentless inflation, the threat of global recession, the specters of war, and you have the perfect storm. The consequences could be catastrophic, plunging us into unprecedented crisis. America is sliding in the age of discord, with trust in institutions collapsing and the democratic norms unraveling. The quality of life for Americans has declined. Wealth is concentrated among the rich, while the median American family income stagnates, creating a dangerously top-heavy social pyramid. Moreover, hostile countries like Russia, China, and Iran are working to destroy the US dollar. Gold is a no matter what store of wealth that you need. That's why Robert has been such an advocate of gold, and he trusts Allegiance Gold. Allegiance Gold is ready to help you incorporate physical gold as part of your portfolio and protect it against economic uncertainty. Visit protectwithrobert.com today to learn how you can qualify for up to $5,000 in free silver with a qualifying investment. Or give them a call at 844-3-ROBERT. Remember to mention Robert and Kim sent you when you contact Allegiance Gold. Secure your IRA or 401k today with Allegiance Gold. Visit protectwithrobert.com or call 844-3-ROBERT.
Welcome back to the Rich Dad Real Estate Show, where we talk about the good news and bad news. Real estate, hosted by yours truly, Jaren Sustar. So before the break, we were talking about organic lead gen. We can work with investor-friendly agents, or number two, we can work with wholesalers. And so moving on to number three, in a way that I have bought personally, gosh, I don't know, 50% of the deals in my portfolio is just by finding them sitting on Zillow. Now, I know people will say, well, that was easier in 2018 and 2019. Okay. Well, why do I have 5 flips going right now, 3 of which of them were found on Zillow, and it's the end of 2024? Well, it's because you're wrong and you're still making excuses, and that's why you're still broke. I love you, but we've got to change that mindset. Now, were interest rates a lot lower in 2018 and 19? Well, not really, actually. In 2018 and 19, I was paying 5.75%, but I'll give it to you that the years following, rates did go down drastically. So does that mean the only time in our history to buy real estate was when rates were really low a few years back? Now everything just costs too much. Real estate is dead. Guys and gals, you are missing the big picture here. Real estate goes up in value over time. Rates go up and down, prices go up and down on the micro short-term level. But if we zoom out and we look at the history of real estate, it wins in the long run. And so the great investors who win know how to find great deals in any market, knowing that the returns are only going to improve over time. You've heard folks the past couple of years say it's a terrible time to buy real estate. You know what that tells me personally? That I should be buying as much as I possibly can. Warren Buffett, arguably the greatest investor of all time, says it best. Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. Now, last note on this soapbox, and then I'll keep it moving. Every year that you invest in real estate, people will tell you that it's a terrible time to buy. I heard it in 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. I'm hearing it in 24, and I promise you, I will keep hearing it in 2025 and beyond. You know what, though? My net worth has continued to go up, and so has my cash flow, because I just kept buying. There were great deals back then. There are great deals right now, and there will be great deals tomorrow. All right. Rent over. So how do you capitalize on Zillow? Well, you enter your buy box into their fillers, and then you hit save search. It's pretty simple. So for example, you may be looking for a 3-bed, 1+ bath, single family home, $75,000 to $200,000 is the price point, with at least 1,200 square foot in 4 different zip codes. So you would enter that information, save the search, and Zillow is going to notify you when properties with that criteria become available. In addition to setting parameters, though, I want to encourage you to also manually check the site every few days. There may be a property that comes available in your target area that is just a tad outside of your buy box, but it still has potential. For example, maybe there's a home that's listed for $215K, but you had your parameters set at $200K, so you would have missed it. And pro tip, don't let the list price of a home dictate what you offer. The last fix and flip I just purchased was listed at $380,000. It sat for 30 days, and then the sellers dropped it to $300,000. It still wasn't worth $300K. We couldn't make a profit at buying it at $300K. So we ran our numbers and said, okay, $250 is where we need to be to make a strong profit. So we offered it $250,000, and they accepted it. Newbie investors would have looked at that. They would have looked at the list price and moved right past that deal. We watched it. We saw them drop it over time, and then we shot our shot based on our numbers. And what do you know? We locked up a fantastic deal. So don't let that list price deter you from making offers at the price you need to get the deals done. So number 4, driving for dollars. Man, what a great way to find amazing deals. There's almost no better way to find great deals, to be honest, than driving for dollars. I absolutely love it. So driving for dollars is simply where we hop in our vehicle, ride around B to C class areas in town, and look for distressed or vacant properties. I want you to think overgrown yard, no vehicles or stuff, quote unquote, in the driveway, ugly, messed up blinds. Now, disclaimer, this is going to take a little more of your time, but do it after work. Do it on a Saturday morning. Do it on Sunday after church. I personally usually spend 1 hour per week driving around and then another hour looking up the owners of the homes I find that I'm interested in and calling them to see if they'll sell. Now, I understand that not everybody can do this. For example, people who don't live in the market that they buy in aren't going to be able to do this themselves. This is why having an investor-friendly agent or a boots-on-the-ground teammate in an out-of-state market is so important, because they can go do this for you. Number 5 in organic leads is networking, both in person, virtually, and on the internet. Almost every city has what is called a real estate investing association. These associations usually have monthly meetups and are a fantastic place to start just shaking hands with other investor-friendly agents, other investors, wholesalers, and contractors. One of the first students I ever coached in real estate, her name's Erica, took my advice and went to local meetups regularly. She met a wholesaler at one of these meetups who 2 months later sent her a fix and flip. It was her first real estate deal. She ended up purchasing it and grossing almost $100,000 in profit after she fixed it up and sold it. And by the way, she's a stay-at-home mom of 4 children, so no excuse for the rest of us. Another fantastic avenue are Facebook groups. Great way to network. There are local investment Facebook groups all across the country. When you join them, you're going to see deals. You're going to see them presenting deals nonstop. You're going to be able to meet other investors. You're going to see and meet contractors, property managers, you name it. You will get insight as to which areas to invest in and which ones to stay away from, which contractors to stay away from, and what type of properties perform best in the area, and a whole lot more. Also, often in the Facebook groups, the deals being presented are coming from other investors, which is one of my favorite strategies for buying rental properties. Why? Well, because they understand the game. They know you must buy it at a price that makes sense as an investor, and you understand they have to sell it and make a profit. I had a guy on my personal podcast about a year ago who met an old man who owned a ton of rentals. He was in his late 80s, and he met this gentleman at a networking event. So they spoke for a few minutes, and the older gentleman started telling my younger friend that he was wanting to sell his entire portfolio. And so they met a couple times after that because my buddy obviously was interested. Well, sure enough, my buddy ends up buying this huge portfolio of rental properties from this 80-year-old man. It was a life-changing transaction, and the 80-year-old man sold it to him with seller financing. So he didn't even have to come out of pocket much, didn't have to go through the banks. And it is a life-changing deal, all because he went and networked at one of these events. Now, there is no guarantee that that's going to happen to you or anybody, but when you start putting yourself in rooms with others who are already doing the dang thing, there tends to be a lot of deal flow and connections made. Number 6, social media. So long before I ever had a recognizable brand and had the honor of hosting the Rich Dad Real Estate Show, I would consistently post on my personal accounts. Number 1, telling people that I was a real estate investor and was always looking for deals. And then number 2, when we started doing deals, I would post pictures of projects we were working on and the before and afters. And I still do this today. So here's the exact post I made on my personal Facebook page just a few weeks back. It said, "Hey friends, we are going to be buying a lot of houses the remainder of this year, and I need your help finding them. Here's how we roll. We buy all cash, any condition or situation, no repairs needed. We buy as is, flexible closing, no commissions. Realtor bring us leads and you can list on the back end. Referral fees paid to those who bring us deals we close on." Then I listed the towns we were interested in buying in, and I closed the message with, "Send over what you have." And we got 3 leads in 2 days. Just let everybody you know that you buy investment properties. Everybody, Facebook, when you're out to dinner, when you're at church, wherever you're at, tell everybody, because then deals start coming your way. Listen, everybody wants to be in real estate. HGTV's made it cool. They think it's really cool what real estate investors do. But to be quite honest, most of them don't have the cojones or the drive to do it themselves. So they're like, okay, I'm not going to do it myself, but I can get in by bringing Jaren leads. They feel great. And then when they bring me leads, we reward them handsomely and they keep bringing me more. And the next thing you know is I have, and you can create an army of lead generators who get great referral payouts when they bring you leads in. It's literally not rocket science. It just takes time. Okay. It just takes time. And then last but not least on organic lead gen is Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. It is still around. Believe it or not, Craigslist is humming. These two are pretty self-explanatory. I want you to scour these websites weekly and see what is available for sale. Another little hack when looking at these two different websites is to reach out to landlords who have had their properties listed for rent for a long time on these sites, but they can't get them rented. They are often inclined to sell. But I want you guys to hear me out, okay? Hear me out, though. Do not get scammed by looking at properties on these sites. Don't go wiring a random person money to buy a deal off one of these websites. Do everything through your closing attorney and or your title company. Do a title search, buy title insurance. Do everything by the book because there are some wonky scammers out there. Okay. Whew. All right, that was your masterclass on organic lead generation. Now I want to talk about paid leads. Like I mentioned earlier, there is going to be less competition with paid leads because more people can vie for organic leads, but not everyone's willing to pay to get a deal, which leads me to it's going to cost you a little bit of money and some sweat equity. So today we're going to focus on cold calling and direct mail campaigns. All right, number one, cold calling. Let's jump in. When most people hear the two words cold calling, it either scares them to death or they don't really know what it means. So cold calling is when you pick up the phone, call someone who's not expecting a call from you. It's not a friend-to-friend convo, and you say something along the lines of, hey, I'm an investor in the area. Would you be interested in selling me your house? Now, there are obviously different ways that this conversation could go depending on the scenario, but you get the gist. All right, so now that we know what cold calling is, we now need to figure out how to find out who the owners of properties are that we're interested in and what type of owners we should be targeting. Now, there are a number of softwares that are available to find this information, with two of my favorites being Deal Machine and PropStream. These softwares give you the ability to enter different filters or prompts to pull the contact information of property owners. Now, this could be as simple as you typing in the address of a property that you drove by while driving for dollars, or it could be an in-depth list pool, for lack of a better term, of certain types of sellers in a large area. So let's break that down. If we're looking to cold call a property owner that we think would be inclined to sell, here is where our focus should be. It should be on distressed owners, distressed properties, and or other investors who are looking to get rid of a property that they've had for a long time or has been a problem for them because they're a terrible operator. So when we talk about a distressed owner, I want you guys to think tax lien, pre-foreclosure, foreclosure, probate, failed listings, recently divorced, or an estate sale where one or both of the parents who own the property just passed away. All of these are fantastic because you are getting to help people who need help the most. Like most recently, for example, I bought a home from a lady whose husband had passed away not long ago. The lady needed to get rid of this home. She had already moved out of it. It was too big for her anyways, and it was starting to deteriorate from a lack of upkeep. And so I go and I meet with her and she says, please get this property off my hands. And so we sat down, I asked her what she needed to sell it for. And then I told her what I needed to buy it for based on what the rehab was going to cost me and what it would be worth after. I showed her those numbers and we came to an agreement and closed not long after that. Think about how amazing that is. I was able to help this lady get rid of a property that she had lived in for years. It was sentimental to her, but she needed it off of her hands. We were able to take it, make it pretty, bring it back to life, and then offer it to someone else to be able to take it over and live in quality housing. It's amazing what we get to do by helping those who are in need. Now, if you are someone who says, I don't have time to call 1,000 numbers a day, you have a life, you have a job, you don't just have all the time in the world to cold call yourself, well, you need to do one of two things. Number one, you need to dial it in and be specific on who you call so that you're not having to call a bunch of different people to get deals. Or number two, you want to hire someone else to call for you. So number one, when I was calling myself, I would narrow down a specific neighborhood or street that I wanted to buy in. Then I would go and I would pull my contact list for that little area and I would call them while driving or during a break in work. When I was first starting out and was nervous about calling people in general, I'd actually start by calling other investors who own properties in the area first. I felt as though for some reason that they were less intimidating because they were already in the game. They were used to getting these types of calls and doing these calls themselves to go and find deals. And so I would start by calling vacant investor owners that lived out of state, and then just out of state owners, and then out of town owners, and then I would move my way to local investor owners of properties. Eventually, I've gotten to the point to where I am today, where I do not do much calling at all any longer, and instead I farm it out. So there are companies that you can hire who cold call properties for a living, such as REI Call Center. So the next strategy for paid lead generation I want to talk about today is mailers. When it comes to mailers, we're going to be doing pretty much the exact same thing as cold calling, except we're not going to be calling all of those potential sellers. We're going to be sending them direct mail. Yes, literally old school mailbox mail. It's worked for a very long time and it continues to work today. So if you're on a budget, you can create your own mailer designs and campaigns. But I personally love a company called Ballpoint Marketing. They create and test designs frequently and can tell you which ones to use to get the best open and conversion rates. It's all done with a click of a button and has made my mailer offense extremely easy to run. I would say the biggest difference, though, between cold calling and mailers is that cold calling is more direct response. So people will answer the phone, they'll text you back, or they'll call you back. Mailers is more of a stay in front of you marketing game. It's going to take longer on average. The potential sellers are going to keep seeing your mailers, keep seeing your mailers, keep seeing your mailers. Then the day comes where they need or want to sell their property. Your mailer that maybe you sent 3 months ago is under a magnet on their fridge and they call you. Think of it almost like a large company who's advertising on TV. The results aren't always immediate from a commercial, but it starts to build that brand awareness. So let's do a quick recap. We have 2 buckets of lead generation strategies, organic and paid. Under organic, we covered investor-friendly agents, wholesalers, Zillow, driving for dollars, networking, social media, and Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist. Then with the paid marketing, we covered cold calling and direct mail campaigns. So you're probably thinking, which one or ones should I start with or choose? Well, here's my 2 cents. I would encourage you start with organic because, quite frankly, that's what I did and it worked. Then I would work my way into targeted paid ads when I started generating income from the properties that I was buying. Although, if you are flush with cash already and want to jump in immediately with paid marketing, you 100% can. Nobody's holding you back. One thing that we used to say in sales when our leads and our pipeline started to dry up and we didn't have anybody calling to buy things from us is we were going to pick up the phone and get on the road and talk to customers. It stirs the water. And when we do that, good things tend to happen. And so whether you stir the waters through organic or paid or both, I want to encourage you to always keep them stirred because your investment success depends on it. All right, so we've got time for one question today for questions with Jaren. Jaren, do you like single family homes or multifamily better? Look, I like them both, but for a beginner investor, I love single family homes. What is the American dream? It's to own your own home. So when you invest in a single family property, you buy a product that appeals to the masses. They are easy to find. They're easy to know what they're worth. They're easy to get funding for. They're easy to manage. And you have a huge pool of people you can sell them to when you want to exit. Compared to if you buy multifamily properties, you pretty much are only going to be able to offload it to another investor. Guys, thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Rich Dad Real Estate Show, where we talk about the good news and bad news of real estate. I'm your host, Jaren Sustar, and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of the Rich Dad Real Estate Show. Again, I'm your new host, Jaren Sustar. I look forward to hanging out with you guys every week. Make sure you keep tuning in so we can deep dive into all things real estate investing. You can take this knowledge, go apply it into the world so you can ultimately reach financial freedom. I'll see you next week.
This podcast is a presentation of Rich Dad Media Network.